The Laughing Assembly. The Galactic Union's High Assembly had gathered again. Leaders from over 100 alien species filled the Grand Dome. Above them, stars blinked through the transparent ceiling, but none of them cared. They were too busy, mocking the newest species added to their ranks, humans. Primitive builders, one whispered. Overconfident, said another. They call their machines miracles. What fools. Laughter spread like fire through the room. To them, humans were just loud newcomers who had barely scratched the surface of space travel. While the Union had built star empires and quantum bridges, Earth had been sending rovers to rocks. Did you hear? Said a green-scaled delegate. They are sending a gift to the core worlds, something they built, their pride. Their engineers must be comedians, said another. The joke, it seemed, had already written itself. But in a quiet corner of the assembly, one old alien ambassador did not laugh. His name was Nair, and he had watched humans more closely than the others. He remembered how they fought off the Grolac swarm with nothing but orbital junk and clever timing. He remembered how their broken ships somehow outran pirates. He remembered, and he stayed silent. Because Nair had learned one thing. Humans built simple, but what they built worked. Far from the assembly, on a small moon orbiting a trade world, something was being prepared. Humans had called it the Key. It was not a warship, not a factory, not a colony. It looked like a sharp crystal, floating gently above a landing pad. No wires, no engines, no lights. And yet, it hummed with quiet power. Lena, a human engineer in a gray coat, watched it. Her hands were covered in oil, her face was tired, but her eyes burned with something deeper. Hope. Next to her stood another human, tall and silent. He had only one job, protect the machine until launch. His name was Dax, but few knew him. He never spoke, only listened. And he was listening, now to the sound the machine made. It wasn't just humming, it was singing, almost like it was alive. How long until the jump? Dax asked softly. Lena checked a small device on her wrist. 3 hours. Then the galaxy sees what we can do. They'll laugh, he said. They already are. She smiled. Let them. Back in the core, news of the incoming human device spread fast. Most believed it was another joke, some cheap showpiece built to gain attention. But curiosity pulled them in. By the time the Key arrived, thousands had gathered, leaders, scientists, soldiers. All waited to witness Earth's grand machine. A voice echoed across the sky from the human command ship above. This is a gift from Earth, not a weapon, not a tool, just a truth. The Key began to glow. The laughter stopped. A pulse of light spread out in all directions, silent, calm, endless. Where it touched machines, they healed. Where it passed damaged stations, they rebuilt themselves. Old satellites blinked and hummed like new. Broken ships powered on again. Even ancient engines, forgotten for centuries, roared back to life. In seconds, the light touched a dying star. It didn't bring it back, but the decay slowed. The galaxy held its breath. The High Assembly went silent. No one laughed now. The aliens stared at the feed, frozen in disbelief. What is this? One finally asked. A whisper passed through the chambers. It fixed entropy. In the corner, Ambassador Nair finally spoke. His voice was soft but firm. They don't build like us, they build for something we forgot. What's that? He looked at the screen, eyes glowing with wonder. Possibility. The doubters and the data after. The light faded, silence ruled. Not just in the assembly halls, but across hundreds of star systems that received the transmission. The Key had done something impossible. Something that not even the oldest civilizations could explain. But with the shock came questions, and with questions came fear. It must be a trick, said a red-skinned scientist in the assembly. No machine can do that. It broke the laws of decay. Another growled. That cannot be allowed. Already fleets were being scrambled. The core worlds wanted answers. Or control. Back on the moon, Lena stood still, watching the energy readings on her screen. She looked calm, but her fingers trembled. Reactions coming in, she whispered. Some are impressed. Most are scared. Dax didn't speak. He didn't have to. The heavy silence between them said enough. They both knew this would happen. Was it worth it? He asked finally. Lena nodded. The moment we showed them what human minds could do, and we crossed a line. In a large lab at the heart of the Varnan cluster, the greatest alien scientists gathered. They played the broadcast over and over again. They studied the pulse wave. They broke down every frame of the key's activation. But nothing made sense. There are no moving parts, no control systems, not even a power core. It should not work. Still, the evidence was undeniable. Systems damaged for years were now whole. Satellites long dead blinked with new life. One station on the edge of collapse had reactivated itself and even repaired its own failing orbit. It's not a weapon, one alien whispered. It's a rebirth device. The others fell quiet. Then someone added, or it's a warning. In a cold chamber deep in the Council's military command center, a general paced. They've hidden their real power. This machine is not a gift, it's a message. What message? Asked a junior officer. That they can fix what we break, or break what we can't even understand. On the moon, Lena and Dax prepared for departure. The key had completed its task, but it was still humming, floating quietly like before. Its glow had dimmed but not died. Dax watched it carefully. Can it do more? Lena nodded. A lot more, but not yet. The galaxy isn't ready for everything. Then why show them anything? Because someone had to remind them. She said that we are not behind. We are ahead in ways they don't understand. Dax looked up at the stars. They'll come for it, he said. I know. And for us. I know. She smiled sadly. Let them. Across the galaxy, messages flooded the assembly chambers. Some begged for help, some demanded secrets, some called for war. But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer the silent newcomer. They were the spark in the dark, and the key was only the beginning. Eyes of the galaxy within hours, over a dozen star nations had declared emergency meetings. Surveillance ships were redirected. Spy probes were launched toward the moon where the key had first activated. News channels across the galaxy were flooded with one headline: Humanity breaks. The laws of the universe. On a research vessel orbiting a neutral planet, a young alien analyst named Rico stared at the footage again and again. She was part of the Interstellar Truth Network, a group that investigated large-scale phenomena. But even their best minds were stuck. This isn't technology, her mentor said. It's something else, like intuition, shaped into metal. Rico looked at the data. There was no code, no interface. It responded to no known signals. It's not made to be understood, she whispered. It's made to be felt. Meanwhile, Lena and Dax had left the moon. Their ship, the Ark Haven, moved silently through slipspace, heading for a hidden station deep in unclaimed space. Behind them, the key had been taken, teleported away before the fleets could arrive. Dax sat in silence, watching the stars move by. They're scanning for us, he said. They won't find us, Lena replied. How? Because they're using logic. But the key was born from failure, emotion, risk. They're not looking for madness. They're looking for machines. That's their mistake. At the assembly, fear had turned into planning. A private council was formed, called the Stabilizers. Their goal: contain humanity before their inventions reshape the galaxy. If they can repair systems with light, one counselor said, what else can they fix? Death? Time? Memory? A chilling silence followed. We don't need answers, the speaker added. We need control. But not all alien races feared humanity. On a desert world scarred by war, a dying civilization sent a message to Earth. You gave us hope. Please send the key. And they weren't alone. On the edge of the Skarn Nebula, a broken colony had witnessed their failing shield arrays heal themselves. On a gas giant moon, drifting miners were saved when dead life support systems came back online. Whispers of the miracle machine spread. To many, humans were no longer just builders. They were healers of the stars. Back aboard the Ark Haven, Lena looked at a growing list of requests. More are asking for help, she told Dax. Not threats. Not demands. Please. Dax's brow tightened. And what will we give them? She hesitated. We'll give them what they gave us when we were small. Doubt. She turned to him. Let them wonder what we might do next. In a dark sector of space, the stabilizers had already launched their plan. A ship, sleek, fast, deadly, was dispatched. Its mission: capture a human engineer. They didn't need the key. They needed the mind behind it, and they were heading straight for Lena. Shadows in the dark. The ship sent by the stabilizers was named Silent Dawn. No markings, no flags. Its weapons were hidden under smooth plating. Its crew was trained not to ask questions, only to carry out orders. And this time, the order was clear. Find the human engineer. Bring her in, alive. The captain, a cold-eyed figure named Wren, reviewed Lena's file. He read it twice, then looked at the final line. She built the key. We don't know how. He closed the file. Prepare for boarding protocols. Far away, the Ark Haven drifted just outside the edge of a red star. Its outer hull shimmered, hiding it from most scanners. Inside, Lena sat cross-legged on the floor of a dim control room. She wasn't working on a machine. She was meditating. Dax entered silently. You feel it, don't you? Lena opened her eyes. They've sent someone. How long? Less than 2 days. Dax checked the ship's power core. We should run. No, she said calmly. Let them come. Dax didn't argue, he knew her well. If she said stay, there was a reason. Back on the Silent Dawn, the crew had picked up a faint trail, one single burst of data hidden inside a dying signal. It was enough. We have her, Rand said. Prepare to jump. Moments later, the black ship vanished into slipspace. Elsewhere, the High Assembly had grown divided. Some argued for peace, others for war. A third group, however, was watching something else. Data. More systems that had been exposed to the key's light were now showing impossible behavior. Gravity fields reshaped themselves, old AI units began rewriting forgotten code, and even broken plants in biodomes had started to grow again, without light. The assembly scientists were baffled. The data was clear, but the cause? Magic, one technician muttered. But Nair, the old ambassador who had warned them before, stood up again. No, not magic. Human thinking. Messy, emotional, brilliant. Back on the Ark Haven, Lena stood beside a sealed crate. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Inside was another device, smaller than the key, but made from the same unknown alloy. Dax stared at it. Another one? Not yet finished, Lena said. But if they're coming, we might need to test it early. The Silent Dawn arrived. No warning, no comms. It appeared like a shadow falling across a dream. Dax saw it first. They're here. Lena nodded. Then let's show them what doubt looks like. Captain Wren led the boarding team personally. 10 elite soldiers, stun weapons ready. They cut through the Ark Haven's hatch and stepped into the quiet corridor. No alarms, no defense systems. Just silence. Then a voice. You wanted to understand. The key, Lena said through the ship's intercom. Let me give you something better, an answer you'll never forget. Before Rain could respond, the walls began to glow. Light ran through the ship like veins, bright, living, aware. The soldiers froze. Their weapons powered down. Their suits rebooted without command. And in the middle of it all stood Lena, holding the smaller device. This isn't a weapon. she said softly. It's a mirror. Then she activated it. The soldiers screamed, not in pain but in shock. Their minds flooded with images, stars being born, galaxies rising, machines breathing, and one message burning in every corner of thought. You don't understand us. But you will. Captain Wren fell to his knees, shaking. The boarding team dropped their weapons. Dax stepped beside Lena. That was mercy, she nodded. Next time, they might not deserve it. The turning point, Captain Wren woke up slowly. He was no longer on the Ark Haven nor on his own ship. He was lying on a metal floor inside a neutral zone medical station, unarmed, unchained, but watched. A human officer stood nearby, not speaking, just waiting. Rain blinked, his voice dry. Why didn't she kill me? The officer replied simply, because she doesn't want to become what the galaxy expects her to be. Wren sat up, head still, spinning from the visions he'd seen. He remembered the light, the messages, the overwhelming sense that human engineering wasn't just machines, it was philosophy given form. And for the first time in his career, he questioned everything. Back. Aboard the Ark Haven, Lena sat alone. She stared at the small device she had used on Wren's team. It now rested inside a stasis box, quiet and dim. That was too soon, she whispered to herself. Dax entered, carrying a transmission pad. They've sent messages, he said. Who? Everyone. He tossed the pad on the table. It scrolled, endlessly, dozens of pleas, threats, and proposals from alien leaders. They want us to join the assembly, to explain the key, to share the design. Lena shook her head. They still think it's something to be owned, controlled. And if we don't give it to them, they'll send more ships, she said. Not to capture, this time to destroy. Dax leaned forward. So we fight? She looked at him with tired eyes. No. We teach. In the High Assembly, tensions had peaked. After the failed mission, some demanded war. The humans are manipulating physics itself. They're destabilizing order. They must be stopped before they rewrite reality. But others, like Nair, stood firm. You fear what they build, because it challenges what you've always believed. And what if they challenge too much, a counselor shouted. What if they make us obsolete? Nair stepped forward. Then we must evolve. A deep silence followed. Across the stars, whispers of change had begun. Small alien colonies, once ignored by the core worlds, now welcomed human envoys. Scientists from dozens of species sent private messages to Earth, asking not for power but for understanding. Human engineers became legends. Their machines, called Ghost Steel, Miracle Cores, Heart Engines, were studied, feared, and worshipped. But Lena had a plan. She activated a galaxy-wide transmission. Her face appeared on screens across every major world. Not from a throne, not from a council room, but from her workshop. Simple tools, oil-stained gloves, the smell of metal and work. She spoke plainly. We never set out to change the galaxy. We built the key because we wanted to save ourselves. Then we realized maybe we could save others too. Her voice was steady. We won't give you weapons. We won't fix your wars. But we'll show you how we think, how we see problems, how we shape answers from hope, not fear. She smiled, softly. We're not better than you, but we're different. And that's enough. The broadcast ended. In the quiet that followed across the galaxy, for the first time, no one laughed. A galaxy in reflection. The transmission echoed for days. On core world planets, elite minds rewound Lena's words, analyzing each sentence like a code. In far-off mining colonies and broken moons, ordinary citizens rewatched her smile again and again as if they could find some hidden truth in her calm. And slowly, the tone shifted. What began as fear turned into something else. Curiosity. In hidden labs once fiercely guarded by the stabilizers, scientists spoke quietly. She didn't threaten us. She offered thinking. One researcher, a small bright-eyed thinker from the Alari system, typed feverishly, If this is how humans design machines, then we've missed the whole point of engineering. Across the table, her partner frowned. How so? She grinned. We build machines to solve problems. They build machines to ask questions. Meanwhile, the Ark Haven floated above a quiet ice world. Lena stood beside a growing wall of designs. New machines drawn by hand, some built from parts scavenged from alien tech. All of it based on the same principle as the key. No central control, no limits, just function through feeling. She tapped one of the sketches. This one could heal a city's power grid in minutes. Dak stepped beside her. Are you really going to give these away? Not all of them, she said. Just enough to teach them how to think like us. But not everyone agreed. In the shadowed regions beyond the Council's reach, an empire stirred, one that had long resisted unity and hated change. The Velth Dominion. Their fleets had remained silent during the key's activation. But now, they moved. They saw Lena's message not as hope, but as a challenge. She offers thoughts, snarled their commander. When the galaxy needs rules, the Dominion prepared a message of their own. Not in words, but in fire. They would destroy the Ark Haven, capture the key if it still existed, and remind the stars that change without control was chaos. In deep space, a faint warning blinked. On the Ark Haven's console, Dax read the report. Ship signatures detected 3 Velth cruisers fast approach. Lena didn't flinch. Expected. They'll attack. They'll try. She turned and walked to the hangar where something sat under a tarp, half complete, humming gently. It wasn't a weapon. It was a resonator, not designed to destroy, but to awaken. She looked at Dax. If they won't listen with their minds, we'll reach them with something deeper. As the Velth ships exited slipspace, weapons armed and shields glowing, they saw the Ark Haven floating calmly. No escorts, no defenses, just one human ship. But then, the stars shimmered. The resonator activated. A pulse, like a song without sound, spread from the hull. Every pilot, every gunner, every commander on the Velth fleet paused. Their targeting systems glitched. Their war instincts softened. One screamed in frustration but couldn't fire. The resonator didn't harm them. It simply showed them their own fear. Not fear of humanity, but fear of change. For a moment, the Velth fleet hovered, and then slowly, one by one, they turned back, not defeated, not converted, but shaken. Lena watched the readings fade. That was the last test. Dax nodded. So now what? She looked toward the stars. Now we build the future. The future engine months passed. The galaxy, once ruled by cold laws and slow change, now moved with new energy. And at the heart of it all stood one name, whispered in every corner. From pirate dens to academic halls, humanity. They were no longer seen as a race of noisy newcomers. No longer dismissed as reckless inventors. Now they were called something else. The Forgers of Possibility. On the rebuilt moon of Sarin V, an interstellar summit was held. Not hosted by the High Assembly. Not controlled by any empire. It was neutral, open, voluntary. They called it the Gathering of Thought. Representatives from over 140 species attended. Lena didn't walk in with a guard. She didn't wear armor. She wore her engineer's coat, still stained, still practical. Dax followed behind her, silent as always. The chamber fell quiet as she stepped onto the speaking platform. She placed a simple cube on the table. This is the last design, she said. It doesn't repair systems. It doesn't unlock ancient tech. It doesn't bend light or fix stars. She pressed a button. The cube opened. Inside was a small device no larger than a hand, glowing with soft white light. This one only does one thing, Lena continued. It listens. The chamber leaned forward. It doesn't take orders. It doesn't run commands. It learns from the thoughts around it, and slowly, it helps shape ideas into action. Not by force, but by understanding. She paused. We called it the future engine. No one laughed, no one spoke. She went on. You don't have to use it, you don't have to build more. But for those who still believe machines are tools to serve fear and power, this one will always refuse you. She looked around. And for those who dream in broken pieces, for those who see stars and imagine bridges, for those who build with hope instead of hate. She smiled. You're not alone anymore. That day, the first future engine was placed into the heart of a broken space station that had been abandoned for 100 years. 3 weeks later, it became the largest independent learning hub in that sector of the galaxy. No guards, no weapons, only builders. The Velth Dominion never attacked again. Some say they feared retaliation. Others whispered that one of their generals still heard the resonator song in his sleep. Back aboard the Arkhaven, now anchored near a living nebula, Lena stood at a new workbench. Dax brought her tea and placed it beside a fresh sketch she'd been working on. What's this one? He asked. She turned the page. A bridge, she said. Not between places. He raised a brow. Then what? She smiled, warm and tired. Between ways of thinking. As the nebula glowed outside the ship, sending gentle pulses through the stars, one thing became clear. They belittled human ingenuity. But now, humanity had changed the galaxy. Not with war, not with force, but with something far more powerful. A machine built from belief.